To debate some of these issues, I'm joined now by two Scottish business people, Ian McDougall, Managing Director of McDougall Johnson, a corporate finance and accounting firm who belongs to Business for Scotland, and Daniel Johnson, Managing Director of a group of companies in Edinburgh who speaks for Better Together. Ian McDougall, I mean, we heard from the boss of Wetherspoons there, but we've also heard Sainsbury's former head, Asda, John Lewis, B&Q, M&S are about to come out with a statement, all by and large saying that independence, in their view, would lead to higher prices. Now, are they wrong or are they right and it doesn't matter?
I think Tim Martin, J.D. Wetherspoon was right there. And he
no, I'm not asking you about him, though. I'm asking you about these big retailers who've come out on the other side.
What he said is these arguments are insulting the intelligence of the Scottish people, and I believe that's what they're doing. These scare stories of the last 2 years have been insulting the intelligence of the Scottish people.
But are the retailers themselves wrong? I mean, they clearly believe what they're saying, that they believe that prices would go up.
No, I think they're absolutely wrong in what they're saying. I think they've been coerced into moving towards these arguments. And I think what this is doing is this is dragging this down to the gutter in terms of the debate. Because what you're doing is by bringing a food shop into it, you're aiming at the most vulnerable in society, pensioners, people living in poverty, and you're scaring them by saying that if they don't vote yes, their food shop will go up, and that is dragging the debate down to the gutter.
I suppose that what I'm trying to get at is whether or not there's been political engineering behind the fact that they're all coming out making statements at the same time. Whether or not that is the case, they are the bosses of big companies who have a view on how their business will go in an independent Scotland, and I'm asking you if you think they are actually wrong in their judgment.
Yeah, I do. I think they are. I think that, as you said, the J.D. Wetherspoon's boss has said the opposite. He said it's a wonderful opportunity, and many bosses of big companies, such as Stagecoach as well, Brian Souter, also believe that it's a wonderful opportunity for business as well. So there's contrasting voices in it. So,
Daniel Johnson, I mean, we did hear from Wetherspoons today that independence would be good for business, and I mean, surely a system made in Scotland with taxes and regulations tailor-made to suit businesses in Scotland has got to be good for the country.
Tailor-made but different. And you say, and this is the issue, and I'm a retailer, I'm a shopkeeper. And the basic truth is this, is that if you have two systems of tax, two systems of regulation, two currencies, that increases costs. And that's just the basic rule of business. And I think, you know, hearing from the likes of Asda and Morrison's, from Standard Life, from RBS, from the companies that we trust with our weekly shop, with our pensions and our bank savings, hearing that that there are risks and costs, I think that makes the choice really quite real for people.
But costs could go down as well as up. I mean, Morrison's actually told the BBC when we phoned around today that prices, yes, they say might change if the cost of doing business change, but they might lower them as much as raise them.
Look, the basic rule of business is if you have complexity, you add costs. Now,
even if corporation tax goes down to balance that?
You know, my colleague here is an accountant. I'd like to ask how many of his clients, if you ask them, do you want to do 2 tax returns or 1, how many would opt for the 2? I bet most of them would say, no thanks, I'll stick with the 1.
Ian?
We're talking about Asda here. We're talking about Walmart own Asda. These are massive, massive companies. And as you said yourself, if corporation tax comes down in independent Scotland, any little other costs in terms of that will be easily offset by that. These are companies that deal all over the world. So all this is another country that they have to deal with. But they do it every single day, every single day.
But this is nonsense, you know. Do you think Asda prop up their operations and their prices in Britain from their operations in the rest of Europe? No, they don't. You know, they price according to their costs in each country. And, you know, yes, it's also a big company, but the real cost will be for companies the size of mine. You know, it's small businesses which give, you know, the bulk of employment in Scotland, and small companies which will find the administrative burden, the extra cost, the complexities, very costly and challenge business.
And that's why most small businesses see the opportunity. We've got 2,700 members in Business for Scotland who see the opportunity.
How did they join on your web form?
They see the opportunity moving forward. And Better Together don't have a business arm. It's simple as that, because we see the benefits, we see the opportunities moving forward.
Is it not more of a hassle having 2 systems rather than one, having possibly a different currency?
Well, I don't think we'll have a different currency. You know, that's the simplicity here. I believe that we will have a currency union. And again, it's just another one of these scare stories that have been introduced to this to try and scare people. The chairman of J.D. Wetherspoon said the exact same thing. They're insulting the intelligence of the Scottish people by trying to frighten them, because you do not have a vision or plan for the Scottish economy. You do not have a vision or plan to grow jobs in Scotland.
What is your vision for the Scottish economy?
No, frankly, these statements aren't good enough.
Let him answer.
This is the biggest decision we are making that we have ever faced. And when there are questions, and there are real questions about how things would work, how would businesses operate in Scotland, and rather than engaging with them, rather than looking at them and setting out how things would work, they just dismiss them as scare stories. That's not good enough.
So you don't have a vision or plan?
I believe in investing in Scotland. I believe in building jobs, and we can do that with devolution because we'll have the powers to borrow. From 2016, we'll have the ability to borrow £2 billion, and that can be invested in jobs and businesses. Even the SNP said that back in 2007, that they didn't need independence to create the Scottish Business Bank.
If I can speak on behalf of the poor undecided voter here, I mean, how are people able to make a judgment on this when we have two successful Scottish businesses here, and you look at the same potential situation, and one of you sees risks and one of you sees opportunities? Is there no meeting of minds at all here?
It's a matter of trust. It's a matter of trust, and it's a matter of looking at history. And Westminster hasn't served Scotland well over the last 30 years. They've ruined the economy with the recession in 2007, and we're still suffering from that in this very, very day. They've used all their oil wealth in the last 30 years. So it's a matter of trust. Who do you trust to look after the Scottish wealth going forward? People making decisions in Scotland, or people 500 miles away in London?
You talk about scaremongering, and I think you've just heard a fantastic example of it. The reality is that these are the companies we trust. They're John Lewis, they're Standard Life, where we get our pensions from. And if these companies that we trust with our day-to-day well-being and our livelihoods, I think we should listen to what they're saying.
What about Aberdeen Asset Management? The boss of that thinks it's perfectly possible that Scotland could be a prosperous country under independence. Why does he think that?
Well, look, I think you can find other examples. You've got the asset managers in Dundee that have just moved their pensions south of the border. And that's the reality, is that, fine, there are some people that might be able to, you might be able to find to come there. But, you brought up British Airways yet. You had to go back into your archive to find that. The reality is that the stalwarts of Scottish business, whether it's Standard Life, C.R. Smith, John Mingus, we have former directors from the Miller Group and Scottish in Newcastle. These leading stalwarts, the cornerstones of the Scottish business world, are saying no thank you because they believe that devolution holds a better prospect
Jim
for
McDougall,
Scottish.
Aberdeen Asset Management, Brian Suter, big Scottish businesses who are more than happy to see the opportunity.
Are you underestimating the risks, though? In order to make a point that you believe in passionately, are you really taking on board the fact that the future is risky? Nobody knows quite what independence would mean.
Scotland's got a hugely strong economy. Okay, we don't rely just on oil and gas. Oil and gas is only 15% of our economy and revenues. We're strong in food and drink, tourism, life sciences, manufacturing, education. We lead the world, and we've got a strong, wealthy nation. But the wealth doesn't stay in Scotland, and that's the issue. So there's no reason why Scotland would fail. We've got a very strong economy, and it will be a very successful economy when we vote yes on the 18th.
Hasn't he got a point?
Well, look, oil and gas is a big part of the economy. The other big part of the economy is the financial services sector. And yet Alex Salmond, only the other week, couldn't answer the question from Faisal Islam of how would the financial services sector work without a lender of last resort. He simply doesn't have the answers. He's expecting us to choose on blind faith. Now, I'm not willing to take that gamble. I'm not willing to gamble jobs and our livelihoods. I think we should go for the option, the guaranteed prospect and powers of more devolution. We should say no thank you to independence.
Final last word.
We don't agree with that. We've got higher ambitions. We've got higher ambitions for Scotland. We're looking for more growth. We're looking for higher economy. We're looking for higher wages. We're not happy with the status quo. And these guys don't have a vision or plan at the moment.
Ian McDougall and Daniel Johnson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.